Good morning, everyone. Nice to be seen. Thank you for the amazing discussion and sharing from week one of Hume 310. This has been a great discussion around honor and integrity and friendship and trust and God and church. And I mean, it's really been a wonderful conversation. I also want to thank those of you who have submitted your metaphors there in the collaboration zone on Moodle for your thoughtful interpretation. I hope you've appreciated the way I've responded by giving you some visual response as well as verbal, so to speak. I'm so looking forward to the next 4 weeks and where you will take us on this amazing journey. Good for you all. Thank you. I do want to remind you of the rule requiring a minimum of 3 entries for each discussion question. One initial 250-word response to the primary questions, and then 2 other comments related to what others have said or to something I've said in response, or even sharing a new insight that you've had some time, once you've had some time to think about the question. Some of you have written some remarkable first entries, and I've enjoyed engaging with you about those. But only a few have followed up with those entries with comments and discussion about your fellow students' comments. Please make sure that you get that done before that 11:59 deadline tomorrow night. And also, please be aware that just a kind of a verbal high five, hey, I agree with you kind of statement isn't really what this is about. It's described as a substantive conversation. So I'm looking forward to reading more of your responses to those. Thanks. Just one more logistical note before I move on to talking about week 2. For those of you who have already submitted your first reflection papers and may be wondering why you haven't heard from me about those, my practice is to wait until after the deadline when all or most, at any rate, of the essays have come in so that I'm grading you all at the same time when I'm in the same mood, so to speak. This week, week 2, we consider another hero of the faith. This one is named as Oscar Romero, the Archbishop of El Salvador. Oscar is a 20th century hero and, spoiler alert, martyr from El Salvador. You can go on Moodle to the supplemental learning resources and activities if you'd like to know a little bit more about his life than what is shared in the film. You can click on the link there that will take you to a document that will give you a brief overview of his life. It may help you to have some context for what's going on in this film. I do want to point out that the first 3 people that we've been meeting, Henry and Thomas and Oscar, are all real people. They lived real lives. They were really trying to figure it all out. These are not fictional accounts. They may be fictionalized a little bit, dramatized a little bit, but the dilemmas are real and the circumstances are real and the challenges are real. They're just people trying really hard to figure out life, just like you are. Romero's story takes place in a very difficult time in the history of El Salvador, a country with lots of difficult times, still to this day. It is at a time, as you will see, that the U.S. had some real and strategic interest in that. You may have heard about it, but the questions that Romero is struggling with are the same questions that Beckett was struggling with. I think they are basic human questions. They're about the human condition, common reality for all of us, that always bring us back to the same fundamental question. Well, how do I live now? In light of what has happened to me, in light of the circumstances of my life, in light of the circumstances of history and the dailiness of life, how then shall I live? Each of these persons is confronted by that question. This is a question we all deal with, right? I believe certain things. My character is a certain set of values. And the world I live in is a certain kind of world. In the light of those things, or my understanding, my perspective of those things, how do I live with integrity? I'm looking forward to your discussion about Oscar and the moral dilemma that he finds himself in, and as it relates also to the same dilemma that Beckett is found in. We also add another text into the mix this week, Anne Lamott's Traveling Mercies. This is a collection of essays. It's kind of a memoir, reflections of one person's real life struggles and triumphs. Maybe not the same kind of dramatic world history kind of struggles that we find with Beckett and Romero, but nonetheless very real human struggles. There's a brief reflection essay required for this book as well, but the purpose of assigning this book is the same as the reason we're looking at the films we're looking at. Often considering how someone else, another person, lives in the real world, attempts to live with dignity and integrity, often that can help us understand our own world and our own struggles better. I love Anne Lamott. I hope you will as well. We begin a series of life mapping activities this week as well. Read through the directions very carefully on this. Life mapping is an important self-discovery tool, and some of you have indicated that's what you're about. You're trying to figure it out. We'll work in 3 parts. The first, due this week, week 2, is the simplest one. What are the key events, locations, places, homes, schools, churches, and so forth where I've lived to date? The key word is key. Not all events are formative. That is, not all events and places and occurrences change us. So consider only those that carry, still to this day, significance in your lives. Next week, we'll work on relationships, and the following we'll work on spirituality. 3 major components of our lives. By the way, I will soon have posted a picture on a life events example from my own life mapping. Feel free to look at that, but you're not obligated to follow that. Just be creative. Be your creative selves. Finally, we will consider significant thinkers who have been highly influential in the development of the ways we think about the world, humanity, God, gods, and life. The first 2 are Aristotle and Plato. Although they lived millennia ago, many consider them to still be, to this day, 2 of the most foundationally influential people who have ever lived. You choose one of those, Plato or Aristotle. Do the research using the resources identified for you, and answer some key questions. Again, follow the directions and it will all work out just fine. Those are also found in that category called Supplemental Learning Resources and Activities on Moodle. Well, enough of me today. Again, let me encourage you to direct any questions or concerns you have directly to me. Life is busy and complicated, but I'm working hard to stay on top of things. I will always try to respond as quickly and helpfully as I can. If your question is urgent, feel free to text me at the number provided, but remember to let me know who you are and that you're connected to this course. Looking forward to week 2 and week 3, 4, and 5. Blessings on your journey. Goodbye.